Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It has been so long since I have sat in front of the camera, picked up the camera, even looked at the camera, and I really just have no excuse. I just got busy. I just didn't prioritize YouTube, but I'm back and a lot has happened since the last video that I posted on here. Number one being I got a breast lift, and I'm sure you can tell by the title that this is what this video is going to be, but I just wanted to let you know what to expect in the future, that I am back and I will be posting videos again, vlogs again, all things health, fitness, motherhood, lifestyle. But for today's video, so my first video back, I will be doing a full sit down video explaining all things breast lift, because when doing research on getting a breast, I had the most difficult time finding other women who got this procedure done and shared their experience, because I would say it's not a very common procedure. Usually you see women getting a breast lift with implants or just implants, but I feel like it's very rare to see somebody or to hear about somebody who just gets a lift. So for today's video, I'm gonna explain everything. Honestly, this video is just gonna be very organic. I don't have much of a structure to it because I want it to just come from a very organic place. I really just want to share my experience. So let's just get right into it. We'll start with why I decided to get this specific procedure done, opposed to just implants, or opposed to a breast lift with implants. I actually knew that I was going to be getting some sort of procedure done. For obvious reasons, I wanted to wait until after having kids. The main reason I wanted to get a boob job was because I breastfed our youngest, our 1-year-old, for about 15 months. Then I breastfed our oldest for about 4 to 5 months. And so between breastfeeding and your milk coming in and then your milk going away, and then gaining weight with pregnancy, losing weight with pregnancy, I lost nearly all my breast tissue. And once I dried up from breastfeeding my youngest, I nearly had nothing left in the breast, and I was just left with a ton of skin. And obviously you could imagine that they were not sitting where they should have been, and so being 25 years old, that is no fun by any means. And so I knew for a long time that I was going to get some sort of boob job. I had full intentions on breastfeeding our youngest until he was about a year old, and then after I was done breastfeeding, I was going to then do my research and find a surgeon, figure out what type of procedure I was wanting to have done. But I ended up breastfeeding much longer than anticipated, and I really put off doing the research for the surgery. The number one mistake I made, and something I wish I had done sooner, was meet with the surgeon much sooner, do my consultation much sooner. I waited to call around and schedule my consultation until after I was done breastfeeding, which I wish I had done the consultation a few months prior, because I didn't know that when breastfeeding and then going into a procedure like a breast lift, it's crucial that your milk supply is 100% dried up, because if the surgeon goes in and starts cutting, if for any reason he cuts into a milk duct, what can happen is after he stitches you back up, one of those milk ducts could leak. And he said it's not normally harmful, it's just messy and then could cause infection. And so he did say he wanted me very dried up, not producing any milk. And so because of that, although I was done breastfeeding, I then had to wait several months to wait until I was completely dried up, which took a lot of time. My procedure was scheduled for June 27th, I believe, and I originally had an appointment for May. And so we had this planned for a very long time. My first appointment was for May, but the surgery had to get pushed out until the end of June because he wanted those extra months of me drying up. If I had known that I needed to be completely dried up from breastfeeding before getting the procedure done, I would have quit at 12 months. So the consultation is free. When I was trying to find a surgeon, all I did was I looked at local plastic surgeons near me. Only one doctor was accepting patients where I'm at, and so he is primarily located in Spokane, Washington, but he does have an office where I live, and just about 2.5 hours from Spokane, Washington. And they're here on Thursdays, and he is, as far as I know, he was the only surgeon accepting new patients. And so I scheduled a consultation. I had a consultation with him and his wife, which his wife is, I believe, just head of consultations, and she handles a lot of the upfront stuff. And so I had a consultation with them too. It was great. The facility was beautiful. His wife was great. And it was just, I was like, okay, let's do it. And so going into my consultation, I was very adamant about only wanting a lift. However, I was open to the idea of implants. And the reason I was open to the idea of implants is because, one, I knew how much extra skin I had, and two, I had nearly no breast tissue left. So I was worried that with just a breast lift, I would basically be flat chested. I was fearful that when he removed all of the skin and did the lift, I would have nothing left. And so I didn't want to be flat chested. However, I really didn't want implants, but if implants were going to be my best option, I wasn't opposed to getting them. And so during the consultation, I was very open with the surgeon and his wife and told them exactly what I was wanting, but I told them I was open to implants. And so his wife, I was originally speaking with her. It was just her and I in the office, and I was just telling her my thoughts, my feelings, you know, what I was wanting, and she said that she thought that I would benefit most from getting implants, and that the implants that would be best for me were going to be silicone implants, because she said I have a pretty low body fat percentage and the skin on my breast is very thin. And so with saline implants, she said you would be able to see the ripple in the water, and she said it just wasn't going to be a very attractive look on me. And so she recommended I did the silicone implants, which apparently are more natural and more soft. At that moment when I was speaking to her, I was like, okay, you know, I'm not opposed to it. The silicone implants were more expensive, but about $1,000 more than the silicone implants, but I was like, that's fine if you think that it would look better, if you think, whatever you think. I was just very open during this consultation. However, I was just very vocal with my wants, and that was that I really didn't want implants. And so when the surgeon came in, his wife explained to him, you know, what I was wanting, and I also explained to him where I was at with the implants and everything, and he was so kind. And I was very worried heading into the consultation that he was going to be very pushy towards the implants. I felt like he was very open to what I was saying, and I felt like he really heard what I was saying. And so during that consultation, he was like, okay, let's just take a look, and you know, we'll go from there. And so before I explain what he told me about where I was sitting, apparently, and I could be very wrong on this, but this is my understanding on the procedures. So apparently there's like 3 different categories. Number 1 being just a lift, number 2 being a lift with implants, and number 3 being just implants. And my understanding is that the surgeon will then categorize you into the different categories. And so I believe the way it works is if your nipple is below a certain line or facing a certain direction, which I know this is not medically correct, but this is just my understanding of it. But I believe if your nipple is below or facing a certain direction or certain line, you have to get a lift. You can't just get implants. But regardless, if you're below a certain line, you would have to get a lift. And then if you wanted implants, you could then get implants. You wouldn't just be able to get implants, if that makes sense. So I took my shirt off. He was examining me, and the first thing he said was, I can tell you right off the bat that you will need a lift. And so I was like, okay, great. Am I able to just do a lift, or do you think I would need implants? And so I also explained to him that, you know, I'm a personal trainer. I work out a ton. I work out for my job. I really don't care to have big breasts as long as they're sitting where they should. I'm comfortable at like a B. That's usually where I'm at. And he really reassured me that we would be able to create the look that I was desiring with just a lift. And so I told him, you know, then that's great. I would love to move forward with just a lift. And he said, if in 8 weeks you decide that they're too small, I would like, you know, I would like implants, then we could get me in right away to get implants done. That leads me into my next point, which is pricing. And something I didn't know going into this was that a breast lift is actually going to be more expensive than implants. And this could be different in other states. I'm in Washington State. And so the way it works is you're essentially just paying for the OR time. My thinking was breast plants are going to be more expensive because you're physically getting something. I was like, a lift is just, he's just cutting me and sewing me back up. I was way wrong. A breast lift, because he is essentially reshaping, reforming the breast, it takes much longer in the OR opposed to implants. All he's doing, it's usually just a very small incision. They insert the implants, and get implants, it usually only takes anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours max, given no complications. But for a lift, it's 1 hour minimum to up to 5 hours, given there's no complications. So yeah, that's something that I was very off. That's something that I had no idea. And so I was going into it thinking they were only going to be like 4 or 5 grand. I was assuming that, you know, implants were going to be anywhere from like 8 to 9 grand. And so I was thinking in my head, okay, probably like $6,000. I was wrong. So I do have, I'll share the exact prices with you that we paid. And I did get a quote on the implants as well, because obviously that was something that we were considering. So if I were to get I'll say what I got first and what we paid first. So a breast lift only was $9,100. So we did end up getting a discount because we paid cash. So if you pay cash, you get a 3% discount, and then they were also running a $500 promotion. So we got $500 off plus 3% discount. And the way that it works when paying cash is we had to pay half of the amount to book the appointment. So we had to pay up front, we had to come in with cash. And then during my pre-op appointment before my surgery, we had to pay the remaining balance, which then leads me into surgery week and surgery days. So I am going to talk you through my experience and then a little bit about the recovery after getting a breast lift. If you want me to do an entire video explaining the recovery, how I'm exercising, how I'm doing, how I'm feeling, I can absolutely do that. So the week leading up to my breast lift surgery, I was put on antibiotics. And so I had to take, I believe, 3 antibiotics 3 times a day, every day for 7 days. And then the night before the surgery, I had to put a patch behind my ear. I did not have the best experience with the patch. I wish I did my research on the patch. I was just told it was for nausea, and I had no idea. I didn't look up the medication, nothing. And so I put the patch on the night before, and I had to wear the patch for a couple days after the surgery. The reason I had such an issue with the patch is because it caused me to feel so dizzy and lightheaded, and then actually a couple days after the surgery, so day of the surgery and then like a day after the surgery, I ended up losing my vision a little bit, and everything was just blurry. I couldn't read my phone. When I would look at people, I would see like double. And so I really don't know if that was from the anesthesia or if it was from the patch. I feel like it was from the patch because I kind of felt that way the night before, and I had no idea why I was feeling that way. I didn't even put two and two together that I had the patch on. And the next morning, so morning of the surgery after I put the patch on, I was supposed to drive my husband and I to the surgery because he obviously had to drive back. So I was like, I'll drive up there, you drive back. And he, just because I wanted to, but he would have been fine driving up there, which he ended up having to because I got up that morning of and I completely fell out of bed. I'm like running into the walls. I was like, I'm so tired. And keep in mind, I didn't put two and two together that I had this patch on, and that's what was doing it to me. I just was like, I don't know why I don't feel good. Maybe it's anxiety, I don't know. And so it's like, you have to drive. And so we get in the car. I fell asleep 3 times in the car unwillingly on the way to the surgeon's office. And I even told my husband, I'm like, I'm out of it. I don't know what's going on. I just feel so sleepy, and I never sleep in cars, but that patch made me so tired. I had to be on antibiotics the week before. I had to put the patch on the night before, and then the day of, my surgery was at 11:15, and I had to be fasted the night before. So that was honestly the worst part. I had to stop eating at 10 p.m. and the night before, and my surgery wasn't until 11:15 a.m. However, I didn't even get back to my surgery until like after 2. So that entire time, I'm nauseous, I'm dizzy, I'm tired from the stinking patch, and then I'm starving. And on top of everything I was feeling from the patch, I'm nauseous because I'm hungry. And so they didn't allow my husband to go back to the pre-op room with me. I had to sit there by myself. So really, he just dropped me off and left. And I gave him my phone because I'm like, I'm not gonna need it. They're probably gonna bring me right back. My surgery is scheduled for 11:15. It was 11. And so I just gave him my phone. Well, I ended up having to sit in the pre-op room for like hours, for a very long time. And it was a very comfortable room. It was a very comfortable bed. They let me watch Netflix, but the surgeon was finishing up a surgery, and so yeah, I had to wait for that. Then the nurse came in, she did the pre-op photos, we took photos, and then the anesthesiologist then came in, ran through my history with me, asked me how I did with anesthesia, and just explained the basics of what was going to happen. And she was very sweet, very kind, and it was very personalized. It was very one-on-one. I was the only person they were taking care of at that moment. They did have one other surgery, but they were very attentive with that person. And then when it was my turn, they were very attentive with me. I did have to wait a bit, but it was very one-on-one. They weren't, rushing around between patients. It was just me. All I know in that entire building. And so after the anesthesiologist left, the nurse came in and placed a hand IV, which honestly, that was the worst part of it all. I begged her. I was like, could you please do it right here or in my arm? And for obvious reasons, they can't do it in your arm because when you're under, they need you can't break that line, the IV line, and so, which can happen in the arm, or it's just best. You're also dehydrated because you're not allowed to drink water. That entire day you had to stop drinking water at 10 p.m. and so I'm dehydrated, and therefore my veins were not popping out at all. And so she had to really search for this vein in my hand, which really hurt, but that was the worst of it, so I really can't complain. But after she inserted the hand IV, I go into the operating room, and the operating room was very clean and nice, and I wasn't scared at all. The nurse and the anesthesiologist was just talking to me, and or the anesthesiologist. I honestly don't even know how you say that, but they were just talking to me, and I lay on the bed, and they did strap my arms down, and she, I guess, starts putting the gas or whatever it is into my IV, because I was trying to speak to them, and then I slip into unconsciousness, and the next thing I know, I wake up. And so when waking up from the surgery, my husband wasn't allowed to come back until I woke up and came to. And when I woke up, the initial pain that hit me wasn't really even pain. It was just like, it was just burning and stinging. It wasn't the pain I was expecting. Really, all that hurt was the cuts, because that's all that happened. The incision that I got was, I believe it's an anchor. I could be wrong, but they went under the breast, up, and then around the nipple, removed the nipple, and that's the cut that I had. So initially I woke up and I just started bawling, because I was I was just sad from waking up from anesthesia, because you're not really with it. And then I started crying because of the pain. So then she gave me some pain medicine, and within seconds, the pain completely went away, and I was already dressed. So then they wheelchaired me out to my husband. And now looking back, I do have moments where I don't remember certain things that happened. Like, it's very hit and miss what I remember. But in that moment, I remember saying to my husband, like, I am surprisingly very with it. Like, I wasn't talking funny. I wasn't, falling all over the place. I was just very sore, tender, tired. I didn't have any pain. I was fine. I was just, just sitting there, and I was doing much better than I expected. But yeah, so then after I woke up, they wheeled me out. My husband and the nurse got me into the car, and I had a pillow, and I just put the pillow under my seatbelt and reclined my seat back. And our ride home, we had 2.5-hour car ride home, which I was very nervous about, but it was surprisingly very fine. I ate beef jerky and like 2 popsicles. Drank some water, got home, and my husband had a bed made for me on the couch, and I just laid on the couch. And I was on top of taking my pain medication. I was really scared to start feeling the pain. And so, to be honest, I really had no pain. I was so nervous of like the kind of pain I was gonna be feeling. And that was like my biggest concern, was the amount of pain I would feel. And to be honest, because I was on top of my medication, I just really had no pain, but my goal was to cut the pain meds as soon as possible. And so another thing that I was really worried about was sleep, because a lot of the videos that I watched was women saying that they just weren't able to sleep. You guys, I had some of the best nights of sleep. We slept on the couch, and our couch is a down feather couch, so it's very comfortable. And I was just propped up with pillows. So my husband put a pillow behind me, under my arms. I just had a blanket. I was, all stitched up, and I had my tubes and everything. And I just slept kind of reclined, and it was great. I slept all through the night, and I had no issues with sleep at all. Something I did forget to mention a little bit earlier was that I did get drain tubes, which are normally very common with a breast lift. I'm not sure if they're as common with implants, but I know they're very common with a breast lift, and that is because there's a lot of cutting that goes into a breast lift procedure. And so what they do is they stick the tubes in the breast, and there's a pretty good amount of tube in there. And I believe that they said it was like 9 inches or something like that. And then I had the tubes coming down. I can probably insert a picture right here. But this is what the tubes look like. And I had to keep those in for, I believe it was 3 days, 2 or 3 days. Or no, it was 3 days, because the first day I did have a lot of fluid coming out. And my husband had to drain them for me, and we had to track the fluid that was coming out. And I was able to get them out once I had under like a certain amount for 48 hours. But this video is already pretty long, and so what I think I'm gonna do is just do a full part 2 to this where I talk about the entire recovery period, the stitches, how I'm healing, how I'm exercising, and then I think in that video I will also just do the question and answer in that as well. So if you have any questions about a breast lift, there's anything I didn't answer in this video that you would like me to answer in that video, I'd be more than happy to. This is a little bit of a different video than you're going to usually see on my channel, so I usually share workouts, motherhood, fitness, nutrition, lifestyle, all things like that. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I'm going to be posting that part 2 video. I would love to have you here. Also, make sure you follow me on TikTok and Instagram, because I post daily workouts there and share just daily updates on my life and tips and tricks and all things for living a healthy lifestyle. So make sure you go follow me over there. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.